All right, just make sure I'm live on YouTube. Ain't showed up yet. Doing the refresh. Hit the wrong button. But I should be up by now. Yeah, I am. All right, let me go back and share my screen. All right, what's going on, gents? Doing part 4 of the Kerner conditions, chapter 7, and dealing with unemployment, family structure, and social disorganization. Anything you want to say before we start on this part, BGF?
Yeah, this is when you hear Dr. King says we're coming to get our check. This is what he means. And
Yeah,
this is what the Moynihan report was actually meant for.
yeah, they did mention them in this too.
Yeah, this is in other words, the Sam Johnson administration, and uh, and they kind of abandoned this right after the Watts riots, and it came back up again. And so this is basically what Moynihan was trying to say in the Moynihan report. So
Yeah,
so this is this is the Moynihan report wasn't a study; it was just a paper, a proposal paper. Okay, this is an actual study based on what Moynihan was actually talking about.
hmm and this is where you got a lot of your jobs programs out of.
Your jobs programs, uh, your FHA. You know how people buy black people started buying homes in the late '60s and '70s under the Federal Housing Act.
hmm
Okay, this is where it comes from. So
Yep.
the FHA mortgages and stuff like that, black folks bought mortgages on back in the '60s and '70s. This is a program
Yep.
because remember in the beginning they were saying that black folks couldn't move out of the ghetto because they couldn't get mortgages and they couldn't get loans and stuff like that.
Yep.
That's where it
Redlining.
comes. Yeah, redlining. That's where it comes from.
Yep. 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 So, and I've one thing that where you have a lot of people that want to say like, "Oh, redlining doesn't exist." This pretty much tells you that it does exist.
Hmm.
So anybody who tells you that, is full of shit.
Yeah, it still
It's like,
exists.
yeah, it still exists to this day because we still have instances where people have put white people inside their homes and
Hmm.
took everything black and it raised their appraisal value of that
Appraised
home.
value. Yep.
So it's just it's crazy. But
Yeah,
anyway, go
but
ahead and
that's not. But people nowadays don't believe it's racism. Plus, get to remember within a couple of months, the Supreme Court's going to revisit the affirmative action. So they may get rid of affirmative action. So we're going to see. So all the gains that we have made through civil rights, and the millennials, and millennials say um, that they would have been better off without them. We're going to find out, won't we?
if they get rid of that, it's gonna be funny.
Well, yeah. Well, I'm old, so I don't care.
Yeah, you a hoe. I'm not. I'm middle aged. I say fuck them millennials. I want my shit.
We're gonna find out. So we're gonna have fun because I want to see all those rugged individuals
Say
when
after
they
your way
race
through.
when they alpha your way through it when that racism picks back up.
Because it ain't gone away. It really hasn't. Many times have I heard, and me and my brother have talked about upper management and how that should feel about certain particular groups,
Hmm.
and most of them are white,
Yeah.
and so how they feel about Mexicans and blacks and all this other stuff, and you hear like little stuff behind the doors that they don't think
Hmm.
you're hearing.
Hmm.
Yeah, you really gonna find out if they get rid of affirmative action. You really
Hmm.
gonna find out where you
Oh
really
yeah.
stand with your company.
Oh yeah. We're even going to school, getting loans, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We we'll find out.
Yeah.
So I'll be there with my pen and paper taking notes.
Now
And if it doesn't go well, I'm gonna be talking shit. What you gonna do?
where's the alpha your way through? You got to push through, nigga. Push through.
Hmm.
But anyway, let's go ahead and start this chapter.
You're
Can you
playing it.
hear it?
I can't hear it.
Okay,
Did you hit the checkbox?
probably didn't. I always miss doing that.
So you got to go take it out and share it again.
Yeah, do it that way. Oh, keep did it again. Jeez, she just do it automatically. Damn it,
Mm.
too many steps. Oh, that's the wrong screen.
Oh, sharing with extra steps, huh?
Yeah, no. There you go. All right,
Family
can you hear it
Structure and
now?
Social
Yeah.
Okay.
Disorganization, Part 1.
Shut up. I'm
Recent
listening. I ain't
economic
a rookie.
trends. The Negro population in our country is as diverse in income, occupation, family composition, and other variables as the white community. Nevertheless, for purposes of analysis, three major Negro economic groups can be identified. The first and smallest group consists of middle and upper income individuals and households, whose educational, occupational, and cultural characteristics are similar to those of middle and upper income white groups.
Yeah,
The second
yeah.
and
Monahan
largest
said
group
that.
contains Negroes whose
Hmm.
incomes are above the poverty level, but who have not attained the educational, occupational, or income status typical of middle class Americans. The third group has very low educational, occupational, and income attainments and lives below the poverty level. A recent compilation of data on American Negroes by the Departments of Labor and Commerce shows that although incomes of both Negroes and whites have been rising rapidly, Negro incomes still remain far below those of whites. Negro median family income was only 58% of the white median in
Mm.
1966.
Mm.
Negro family income is not keeping pace with white family income growth. In constant 1965 dollars, median non-white income in 1947 was $2,174 lower than median white income. By 1966, the gap had grown to $3,036. The
Mm.
Negro upper income group is expanding rapidly and achieving sizable income gains. In 1966, 28% of all Negro families received incomes of $7,000 or more, compared with the 55% of white families. This was 1.6 times the proportion of Negroes receiving comparable incomes in 1960, and 4 times greater than the proportion receiving such incomes in 1947.
Hmm.
Moreover, the proportion of Negroes employed in high skill, high status, and well paying jobs rose faster than comparable proportions among whites from 1960 to 1966. As Negro incomes have risen, the size of the lowest income group has grown smaller, and the middle and upper income groups have grown larger, both relatively and absolutely. About two-thirds of the lowest income group, or 20% of all Negro families, are making no significant economic gains despite continued general prosperity. Half of these hardcore disadvantaged, more than 2 million persons, live in central city neighborhoods. Recent special censuses in Los Angeles and Cleveland indicate that the incomes of persons living in the worst slum areas have not risen at all during this period.
Mm.
Unemployment rates have declined only slightly. The proportion of families with female heads has increased, and housing conditions have worsened even though rents have risen. Thus,
Hmm.
between 2.0 and 2.5 million poor Negroes are living in disadvantaged neighborhoods of central cities in the United States. These persons comprise only slightly more than 1% of the nation's total population, but they make up about 16 to 20% of the total Negro population of all central cities, and a much higher proportion in certain cities. Unemployment and underemployment. The critical significance of employment. The capacity to obtain and hold a good job is the traditional test of participation in American society. Steady employment with adequate compensation provides both purchasing power and social status. It develops the capabilities, confidence, and self esteem an individual needs to be a responsible citizen, and provides a basis for a stable family life. As Daniel P. Moynihan has written, The
Hmm.
principal measure of progress toward equality will be that of employment. It is the primary source of individual or group identity. In America, what you do is who you are. To do nothing is to be nothing. To do little is to be little. The equations are implacable and blunt, and ruthlessly public. For the Negro American, it is already, and will continue to be, the master problem. It is the measure of white bona fides. It is the measure of Negro competence, and also of the competence of American society. Most importantly, the linkage between problems of employment and the range of social pathology that afflicts the Negro community
Hmm.
is
Social
unmistakable.
pathology.
Hmm.
Same
Employment
same
not only
language as
holds a
Monahan
present
used.
for the Negro
Yeah.
American, but in a most profound way. It is
Yeah, and this is the part that totally makes sense to me because when he says
Hmm.
what you do is who you are,
Hmm.
because that's your career.
Yeah.
That's what you do. Like, everybody calls me the bread man because I work in a bread factory. That I've been
Hmm.
doing it for a long time, probably the longest job I ever had. So I'm a bread person. I know about bread. I do that. So anybody has any questions about bread, I'm your guy. Just same thing with artisan. He's a carpenter by trade. If
Hmm.
anything you need to know about carpenter, he's the carpenter guy
Hmm.
because that's what he's done for a job all his life. That's his identity. And a lot of and with black people, black men, especially black men, because most of these jobs need to be go to black men. If they have nothing, this is where
Yeah.
the I guess you could say
Your identity. Yeah.
the identity is shot because they don't know who they are. They don't know where they're going to go. They start having low self esteem about themselves, where they gets into drinking, drugs, all this other
Hmm.
kind of stuff because they have no identity, and it comes self doubt, self worth. They don't have any of that because they don't have a job. They aren't providing. They're not doing. They're not proud about themselves about going to work every single day and doing something. Because when they go to these jobs, because it even says in this section, they can't get the jobs because they are turned away. So how many times are you going to turn a man away from getting employment to the point where he just says, "Fuck it, I give up,"
Mm.
and that's what a lot of men did.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. They did. Yeah. They lost hope.
yeah. So anything you want to see on Monahan before he says that?
No, on one hand, just said the same thing. Exactly what this report is saying, and especially the social pathology, which is a lot of the black feminists and some liberals disagreed with about him using the term. They use the same term here.
Mm-hmm. We'll go ahead and continue.
creating the future as well. For residents of disadvantaged Negro neighborhoods, obtaining good jobs is vastly more difficult than for most workers in society. For decades, social, economic, and psychological disadvantages surrounding the urban Negro poor have impaired their work capacities and opportunities. The result is a cycle of failure. The employment disabilities of one generation breed those of the next. Negro unemployment. Unemployment rates among Negroes have declined from a post Korean War high of 12.6% in 1958 to 8.2% in 1967. Among married Negro men, the unemployment rate for 1967 was down to 3.2%. Notwithstanding this decline,
Mm.
unemployment rates for Negroes are still double those for whites in every category, including married men, as they have been throughout the post war period.
That's crazy.
Moreover, since
Mm.
1954, even during the current unprecedented period of sustained economic growth, unemployment among Negroes has been continuously above the 6% recession level, widely regarded as a sign of serious economic weakness when prevalent for the entire workforce. While the Negro unemployment rate remains high in relation to the white rate, the number of additional jobs needed to lower this to the level of white unemployment is surprisingly small. In 1967, approximately 3 million persons were unemployed during an average week, of
Hmm.
whom about 638,000 or 21% were non whites. When corrected for undercounting, total non white unemployment was approximately 712,000 or 8% of the non white labor force. To reduce
Mm-hmm.
the unemployment rate to 3.4%, the rate prevalent among whites, jobs must be found for 57.5% of these unemployed persons. This amounts to nearly 409,000 jobs, or about 27% of the net number of new jobs added to the economy in the
Mm,
year 1967 alone, and
okay.
only slightly more than one half of 1% of all jobs in the United States in
Okay.
1967.
So they can do it.
The low status
So, what you gonna say?
I said that so they can do it. In other words, it's not an impossible task. That's what they're saying.
No, it's not.
and low paying nature of many Negro jobs. Even more important, perhaps, than unemployment is the related problem of the undesirable nature of many jobs open to Negroes. Negro workers are concentrated in the lowest skilled and lowest paying occupations. These jobs often involve substandard wages, great instability and uncertainty of tenure, extremely low status in the eyes of both employer and employee, little or no
Yep.
chance for meaningful advancement, and
Hmm.
unpleasant or exhausting duties. Negro men, in particular, are more than 3 times as likely as whites to be in unskilled or service jobs which pay far less than most. This concentration in the least desirable jobs can be viewed another way by calculating the changes which would occur if Negro men were employed in various occupations in the same proportions as the male labor force as a whole, not solely the white labor force. Thus,
Yeah, I wanted
upgrading
to
the
look at this graph right here because if you look
Uh
at it
huh.
right here,
Uh huh.
it says farmers and farm workers. You got 7 whites to 8 non-whites. So non-whites or blacks or Hispanics or Puerto Ricans, whatever you want to call them,
Yeah, the labor force down there.
overrepresented in farm
Yeah.
workers.
Yeah.
Then you get non-farm laborers, 6 whites to 20. We overrepresented in that. Service
Mm-hmm.
workers, we overrepresented in that.
Mm.
Um, operate operatives, I guess operators. That's when you start seeing, well, we're overrepresented in that.
The more skilled job. Yeah.
Yeah, so the more skilled the job, craftsmen, foremen, clerical, sales,
Mm-hmm.
professional, technical, managerial, e-
Mm-hmm.
especially managerial. 27
Mm-hmm.
whites to 9 non-whites,
Mm-hmm.
and this is the medium income earnings right here. So yeah, we're overrepresented in low paying jobs.
No paying jobs. Yeah, we're actually bred to be the low paid labor force.
Yep. Go ahead and finish this.
the employment of Negro men to make their occupational distribution identical with that of the labor force as a whole would have an immense impact upon the nature of their occupations. About 1.3 million non white men, or 28% of those employed in 1966, would move up the employment ladder into one of the higher status and higher paying categories. The effect of such a shift upon the incomes of Negro men would be very great. Using the 1966 job distribution, the shift indicated above would produce about $4.8 billion more earned income for non white men alone if they received the 1965 median income in each occupation.
That's
This would be
crazy.
a rise of approximately 30% in the earnings actually received by all non white men in 1965, not counting any sources of income other than wages and salaries.
What do
Of
you
course,
think the inflation is that for $4.8 billion in 1965? What would that be in today's? You think, like in the trillions? Oh, he's on mute. I would think that'd be in the trillions.
Basically, if you think about it, if the median wage back then was about less than $5,000, I say, for a
Yeah,
year.
but
So yeah, so and I think the median wage, not the median wage, but the average wage is like $50,000, and we have to multiply by 10.
well, we can do that because I got a calculator on my
Yeah, so probably 50, $60 billion,
So
give or take.
let me put it over here so people can see. So you say multiply by 10,
I say if by a factor of 10. That's probably about right as far as wages are concerned.
50,000,
Yeah,
25 million.
25 billion. Yeah, that's 25 million. Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, what was the amount that you want to multiply by?
They said that in 19 using 19 excuse me 1966 job distribution, the shift indicated that it would be produced about $4.8 billion
Yeah,
if the non-whites had a medium income, what it was supposed to be for like what non-whites had.
yeah,
That's how much money they would have incurred to.
yes, yeah. So in today's dollars, it'd be about 50, $60 billion
Yeah.
instead of 4.8 billion.
Of course, the kind of instant upgrading visualized in these calculations does not represent a practical alternative for national policy. The economy cannot drastically reduce the total number of low status jobs it now contains, or shift large numbers of people upward in occupation in any short period. Therefore, major upgrading in the employment status of Negro men must come through a faster relative expansion of higher level jobs than lower
Hmm.
level jobs, which has been
Hmm.
occurring for several decades. An improvement in the skills of non white workers so they can obtain a higher proportion of those added better jobs, and a
Hmm.
drastic reduction of discriminatory hiring and promotion practices in all enterprises, both private and public. Nevertheless, this hypothetical example clearly shows that the concentration of male Negro employment at the lowest end of the occupational scale is greatly depressing the incomes of U.S. Negroes in general. In fact, this is the single most important source of poverty among Negroes. It is even more important than unemployment, as can be shown by a second hypothetical calculation. In 1966, there were about 724,000 unemployed non whites in the United States on the average, including adults and teenagers, and allowing for the Census Bureau undercount of Negroes. If every one of these persons had been employed and had received the median amount earned by non white males in 1966, $3,864, this would have added a total of $2.8 billion to non white income as a whole. If only enough of these persons had been employed at that wage to reduce non white unemployment from 7.3% to 3.3%, the rate among whites in 1966, then the income gain for non whites would have totaled about $1.5 billion. But if non
Mhm.
white unemployment remained at 7.3%, and non white men were upgraded so that they had the same occupational distribution and incomes as all men in the labor force considered together, this would have produced about $4.8 billion in additional income, as noted above, using 1965 earnings for calculation. Thus, the potential income gains for upgrading the male non white labor force are much larger than those from reducing non white unemployment. This conclusion underlines the difficulty of improving the economic status of Negro men. It is far easier to create new jobs than either to create new jobs with relatively high status and earning power or to upgrade existing employed or partly employed workers into such better quality employment. Yet
Mm.
only such upgrading will eliminate the fundamental basis of poverty and deprivation among Negro families. Access to good quality jobs clearly affects the willingness of Negro men actively to seek work. In riot cities surveyed by the Commission with the largest percentage of Negroes in skilled and semi skilled jobs, Negro men participated in the labor force to the same extent as, or greater than, white men. Conversely, where most Negro men were heavily concentrated in menial jobs, they participated less in the labor force than white men. Even
Let me
given
make sure I got
similar
this.
employment, Negro workers with the
Yeah.
same education as white workers are paid less. This disparity doubtless results to some extent from inferior training in segregated schools, and also from the fact that large numbers of Negroes are only now entering certain occupations for the first time. However, the differentials are so large and so universal at all educational levels that they clearly reflect the patterns of discrimination which characterize hiring and promotion practices in many segments of the economy. For example, in 1966, among persons who had completed high school, the median income of Negroes was only 73% that of whites. Even among persons with an eighth grade education, Negro median income was only 80% of white median income. At the same time, a higher proportion of Negro women
80%.
than
That's
white
crazy.
women participates in the labor force at nearly all ages except 16 to 19. For instance, in 1966, 55% of non white women from 25 to 34 years of age were employed, compared to only 38% of white women in the same age group. The fact that almost half of all adult Negro women work reflects the fact that so many Negro males have unsteady and low paying jobs. Yet, even though Negro women are often better able to find work than Negro men, the unemployment rate among adult non white women 20 years old and over in 1967 was 7.1%, compared to the 4.3% rate among adult non white men. Unemployment rates
Mm.
are, of course, much higher among teenagers, both Negro and white, than among adults. In fact, about one-third of all unemployed Negroes in 1967 were between 16 and 19 years old. During the first 9 months of 1967, the unemployment rate among non white teenagers was 26.5%. For whites, it was 10.6%. About 219,300 non-white teenagers were unemployed. About
And that's where Miss Ann comes from when it comes to Negro women having to work, because a lot of white women didn't have to work. Because when it said right here, it said, or was it? Because I should have stopped it when they said it. It says 55% of non-white women work from 25 to 34, compared to only 38%. So only 38% of white women work compared to 55. And most of those women worked inside the houses of white folks, like being nannies and stuff. So that's where you got the Miss Ann complex, where they used to tell their daughters, don't be like me, get your own.
58,000.
Are you there, BGS? Did you want to say anything to that or no? You must be messing.
300 were still in school but were actively looking for jobs. Subemployment in disadvantaged Negro neighborhoods. In disadvantaged areas, employment conditions for Negroes are in a chronic state of crisis. Surveys in low-income neighborhoods of 9 large cities made by the Department of Labor late in 1966 revealed that the rate of unemployment there was 9.3%, compared to 7.3% for Negroes generally and 3.3% for whites. Moreover, a high proportion of the persons living in these areas were underemployed. That is, they were either part-time workers looking for full-time employment or full-time workers earning less than $3,000 per year, or had dropped out of the labor force. The Department of Labor estimated that this underemployment is 2.5 times greater than the number of unemployed in these areas. Therefore, the subemployment rate, including both the unemployed and the underemployed, was about 32.7% in the 9 areas surveyed, or 8.8 times greater than the overall unemployment rate for all U.S. workers. Since underemployment also exists outside disadvantaged neighborhoods, comparing the full subemployment rate in these areas with the unemployment rate for the nation as a whole is not entirely valid. However, it provides some measure of the enormous disparity between employment conditions in most of the nation and those prevalent in disadvantaged Negro areas in our large cities. The critical problem is to determine the actual number of those unemployed and underemployed in central city Negro ghettos. This involves a process of calculation, which is detailed in the note at the end of this chapter. The outcome of this process is summarized in the following table. Non-white subemployment in disadvantaged areas of all central cities, 1967. Group, adult men, unemployment, 102,000. Underemployment, 230,000. Total subemployment, 332,000. Group, adult women. Unemployment, 118,000. Underemployment, 266,000. Total subemployment, 384,000. Group, teenagers. Unemployment, 98,000. Underemployment, 220,000. Total subemployment, 318,000. Group, total. Unemployment, 318,000. Underemployment, 716,000. Total subemployment, 1,034,000. Therefore, in order to bring subemployment in these areas down to a level equal to unemployment alone among whites, enough steady, reasonably paying jobs and the training and motivation to perform them must be provided to eliminate all underemployment and reduce unemployment by 65%. For all 3 age groups combined, this deficit amounted to 923,000 jobs in 1967. The magnitude of poverty in disadvantaged neighborhoods. The chronic unemployment problems in the central city, aggravated by the constant arrival of new unemployed migrants, is the fundamental cause of the persistent poverty in disadvantaged Negro areas. Poverty in the affluent society is more than absolute deprivation. Many of the poor in the United States would be well off in other societies. Relative deprivation, inequality, is a more useful concept of poverty with respect to the Negro in America, because it encompasses social and political exclusions as well as economic inequality. Because of the lack of data of this type, we have had to focus our analysis on a measure of poverty which is both economic and absolute, the Social Security Administration's poverty level concept. It is clear, however, that broader measures of poverty would substantiate the conclusions that follow. In 1966, there were 29.7 million persons in the United States, 15.3% of the nation's population with incomes below the poverty level as defined by the Social Security Administration. Of these, 20.3 million were white, 68.3%, and 9.3 million non-white, 31.7%. Thus, about 11.9% of the nation's whites and 40.6% of its non-whites were poor under the Social Security definition. The location of the nation's poor is best shown from 1964 data as indicated by the following table. Percentage of those in poverty in each group living in metropolitan areas. Group, whites. In central cities, 23.8. Outside central cities, 21.8. Other areas, 54.4. Total, 100. Group, non-whites. In central cities, 41.7. Outside central cities, 10.8. Other areas,
More
47.5.
poor
Total,
non-whites
100.
in
Group,
cities.
total. In central cities, 29.4. Outside central cities, 18.4. Other areas, 52.2. Total, 100. Source, Social Security Administration. The following facts concerning poverty are relevant to an understanding of the problems faced by people living in disadvantaged neighborhoods. In central cities, 30.7% of non-white families of 2 or more persons lived in poverty compared to only 8.8% of whites. Of the 10.1 million poor persons in central cities in 1964, about 4.4 million of these, 43.6%, were non-whites, and 5.7 million, 56.4%, were whites. The poor whites were much older on the average than the poor non-whites. The proportion of poor persons 65 years old or older was 23.2% among whites, but only 6.8% among non-whites. Poverty was more than twice as prevalent among non-white families with female heads than
I
among
think
those
that's
with
more
male
so with
heads,
more people
57%
moving into the
compared to
city
21%.
than people just
In
staying there.
central cities, 26% of all non-white families of 2 or more persons had female heads, as compared to 12% of white families. Among non-white families headed by a female and having children under 6, the incidence of poverty was 81%. Moreover, there were 243,000 such families living in poverty in central cities, or over 9% of all non-white families in those cities. Among all children living in poverty within central cities, non-whites outnumbered whites by over 400,000. The number of poor non-white children equaled or surpassed the number of white poor children in every age group. Of the 4.4 million non-whites living in poverty within central cities in 1964, 52% were children under 16, and 61% were under 21. Since 1964, the number of non-white families living in poverty within central cities has remained about the same. Hence, these poverty conditions are probably still prevalent in central cities in terms of absolute numbers of persons, although the proportion of persons in poverty may have dropped slightly. End of section 29. Recording by Marwak. Section 30 of the Kerner Commission Report. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Marwak. Report of the National Advisory Commission on Civil Disorders, Kerner Commission Report, Chapter 7, Unemployment, Family Structure and Social Disorganization, Part 2. The social impact of unemployment problems in disadvantaged Negro areas.
This is a good section.
Unemployment
Y'all
and
need
the
to pay
family. The high
attention.
rates of unemployment and underemployment in racial ghettos are evidence in part that many men living in these areas are seeking but cannot obtain jobs which will support a family. Perhaps equally important, most jobs they can get are at the low end of the occupational scale and often lack the necessary status to sustain a worker's self-respect or the respect of his family and friends. These same men are also constantly confronted with the message of discrimination. You are inferior because of a trait you did not cause and cannot change. This message reinforces feelings of inadequacy arising from repeated failure to obtain and keep decent jobs. Wives of these men are forced to work and usually produce more money. If the men stay at home without working, their inadequacies constantly confront them, and tensions arise between them and their wives and children. Under these pressures, it is not surprising that many of these men flee their responsibilities as husbands and fathers, leaving home and drifting from city to city, or adopting the style of street corner men. Statistical
Where have we heard that before? I'll wait.
evidence tends to document this. A close correlation exists between the number of non-white married women separated from their husbands each year and the unemployment rate among non-white males 20 years old and over. Similarly, from 1948 to 1962, the number of new aid to families with dependent children cases rose and fell with the non-white male unemployment rate. Since 1963, however, the number of new cases, most of them Negro children, has steadily increased, even though the unemployment rate among non-white males has declined. The impact of marital status on employment among Negroes is shown by the fact that in 1967, the proportion of married men either divorced or separated from their
Yeah,
wives was more
that's
than
Monahan
twice as high
scissors.
among
Yep.
unemployed non-white
Monahan says
men
I was going to
as
say
among
that.
employed non-white men. Moreover, among those participating in the labor force, there was a higher proportion of married men with wives present than with wives absent.
Mm-hmm.
Fatherless
Yeah, that's the part of the Monahan scissors. The
It's
more, yeah,
Monahan scissors. Yeah,
yeah,
Monahan was saying it in '65, and they pretty much came back and echoed it.
even if black men still got jobs and we're doing
Mm-hmm.
well,
Mm-hmm.
guess what? The women were still separated from the men.
you hear that, Nicole Young? If you're watching,
I know. If you read the article, I'm just
hmm
saying. Obviously, you didn't.
she didn't. She didn't even look to see if it was true.
Nope. And they got graphs and everything about it. So
But that graph doesn't mean that graph is the trope.
yeah, it's just a decoration.
hmm It's lies, lies. I was listening to I happened to walk into a clubhouse talk. They talk about the Minority Report. Chicks saying the exact same thing.
What does
Black women
lies?
still want. Yeah, it was racist. It's not true. And the guy was reading and he said, "Okay, what is about this is racist and not true." Well, if you keep reading, kept reading. So what about this part is racist? Well, in some place else, yeah, it was there was an interview with Nixon, and we figured out that he was racist.
What?
So so we're gonna discount. Why would you believe anything that a racist says? Is what? So what about what he said is not right or not true? To them, it doesn't matter.
Oh my god! That's you know what? That's the same trope that some of these guys on YouTube come in
hmm
here and say,
hmm
like, "Oh, if it's not done by a black person, then you can't trust it."
You can't trust it. Yeah. Even though
Yes.
you go, even though you go back and which you're supposed to go back and read the source material where the person that the author that you wrote got his stuff from and see if it's correct. So and guess where he gets his stuff from a
Exactly.
white person. Doesn't matter where the information comes from,
Don't matter where it comes from as long as it's correct.
as long as it's correct.
That's all that matters if it's correct.
Yeah.
My people.
Families. The abandonment of home by many Negro males affects a great many children growing up in the racial ghetto. As previously indicated, most American Negro families are headed by men, just like most other American families. Yet the proportion of families with female heads is much greater among Negroes than among whites at all income levels, and has been rising in recent years. This disparity between white and non-white families is far
Mm-hmm.
greater among the lowest income families, those most likely to reside in disadvantaged big city neighborhoods, than among higher income families. Among families with incomes under $3,000 in 1966, the proportion with female heads was 42% for Negroes, but only 23% for whites. In contrast, among families with incomes of $7,000 or more, 8% of Negro families had female heads, compared to 4% of whites. The problems of fatherlessness are aggravated by the tendency of the poor to have large families. The average poor, urban, non-white family contains 4.8 persons, as compared with 3.7 for the average poor, urban, white
I
family.
bet they wish
This
that
is
was
one of
that
the
today.
primary factors in
Yeah.
the poverty status of non-white households in large cities. The proportion of fatherless families appears to be increasing in the poorest Negro neighborhoods. In the
Yeah.
Hughes section of Cleveland, the proportion of families with female heads rose from 23 to 32% from 1960 to 1965. In the Watts
That's a
section
large
of Los
jump.
Angeles, it rose
That
from
what?
36 to 39% during the same
No, I
period.
said that's a large jump from just 5 years. It jumped from
Oh yeah.
23% to 32%.
Because they increased they started opening up the welfare rolls to black women. That's why.
And
That's how come a lot. That's how come a lot of even a lot of your black liberals say um, that the biggest influence on destruction of black family was welfare.
yeah,
In other words, giving black women welfare, it was the biggest factor in destroying the black family. And they were right. I used to rail against that. That can't be true. And then, but I never figured, you're actually trained not to see that black women chose this. They weren't forced on it.
yeah. It's like they were offered. It's like, yeah, I'll take that over the black man. It's like, damn, okay.
hmm
Thank you, Giorgami, for the $2.
Yeah, Kareem Austin.
Kareem Austin, appreciate you, sir. And Charles Faulkner says from your Madden God. What's the God from a non-believer, sir? Uh, let's,
Oh Lord.
let's continue.
The handicap imposed on children growing up without fathers in an atmosphere of poverty and deprivation is increased because many mothers must work to provide support. The following table illustrates the disparity between the proportion of non-white women in the child-rearing ages who are in the labor force and the comparable proportion of white women. Percentage of women in the labor force.
No,
Age
it's up
group
here.
20 to 24,
Mm.
non-white
hmm
55, white 51. Age group 25 to 34, non-white 55, white 38. Age group 35 to 44. Non-white, 61. White, 45. With the father absent and the mother working, many ghetto children spend the bulk of their time on the streets of a
Yep.
crime-ridden, violence-prone, and poverty-stricken world.
Yeah.
The image of success in this world is not that of the solid citizen, the responsible husband and father, but rather that of the hustler who promotes his own interest by exploiting others. The dope and the numbers runners are the
Pookie
successful
and
ones
Ray Ray, huh?
because their
Yep.
earnings far outstrip those men who try to climb the economic ladder in honest ways. Young people in the ghetto are acutely conscious of a system which appears to offer rewards to those who illegally exploit others, and failure to those who struggle under traditional responsibilities. Under these
Damn.
circumstances, many adopt exploitation and the hustle as a way of life, disclaiming both work and marriage in favor of casual and temporary liaisons.
Where the hustle
Educated,
come from.
educated lane
From
versus
one
Pookie and Ray Ray,
generation to the
everybody.
next, creating a culture of poverty and an ingrained cynicism about society and its institutions. The jungle.
You know what? I just thought about that when he said that.
What's that?
The whole you see all these women now saying they want a drug dealer or a scammer
Mm-hmm.
versus a 9 to 5 guy.
Fast money.
They want that fast money, like you said, the hustler. The hustler's
The
more
hustler.
preferred.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're still doing the same thing even now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's what it is.
It hasn't gone away. And Moynihan said if we didn't do anything, that we'd be locked in. He was right.
Yeah.
And this was the attempt. So basically, there's two things going on: black women choosing this and tamping down the response, and also white women, taking the affirmative action that was actually given. It's supposed to go to black men, and 83% of it white women took.
You're kind of mad, but in the same sense, you're just like disgusted in the same time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, until you get black people like me and become indifferent. It's like, okay, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I can't even get mad at it anymore
Yeah.
because nobody wants to do anything about it except black men.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I say if the black community wants to change, it's gonna have to change on its own. The people have to wake up. If it's not going to change, it's not going to change. I can't change the black community. Black community is changing on its own.
Do they want it to change? That's what we haven't figured out. Because they pretend like they wanted to change. I don't think they do.
Obviously not.
Every time I hear it, the people don't want it to change. Especially, especially outside the manosphere. They defend it. Okay, don't let it change.
Yeah, I want soft men. I want them to like, okay, you get these soft men. I mean, who's gonna have to protect you? You need rugged, tough men that's gonna protect you. You're gonna want to you want to put your boys into higher education. You don't push your boys into higher education. You push your girls. But then you're saying that we need better men. How you have better men if you don't raise them? It's like a conundrum. Well, they should just do it. Like, what?
They should just do it. Just because they're men. Okay.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Wait for it.
Exactly.
Hold my beer.
Generates a system of ruthless, exploitative relationships within the ghetto. Prostitution, dope addiction, casual sexual affairs, and crime create an environmental jungle characterized by personal insecurity and tension. The effects of this development are stark. The rate of illegitimate births among non-white women has risen sharply in the past 2 decades. In 1940, 16.8% of all non-white births were illegitimate. By 1950, this proportion was 18%.
If I was president, I would bring
By
that word back.
1960, 21.6%. By 1966,
Illegitimate births.
26.3%. In the ghettos of many large cities, illegitimacy rates exceed 50%. The rate of
Moynihan was saying
illegitimacy among non-white women is closely related to low income and high unemployment. In Washington, D.C., for example, an analysis of 1960 census tracts shows that in tracts with unemployment rates of 12% or more among non-white men, illegitimacy was over 40%. But in tracts with unemployment rates of 2.9% and below among non-white men, reported illegitimacy was under 20%. A similar contrast existed between tracts in which median non-white income was under $4,000, where illegitimacy was 38%, and those in which it was $8,000 and over, where illegitimacy was 12%. Narcotics addiction is also heavily concentrated in low-income Negro neighborhoods. are traced
No.
in New York City.
No, really?
9,720 addicts known to the U.S. Bureau of Narcotics at the end of 1966. Just over 50% were Negroes. Over 52% of all known addicts lived within New York State, mostly in Harlem and other Negro neighborhoods. These figures undoubtedly greatly underestimate the actual number of persons using narcotics regularly, especially those under 21. Not surprisingly, at every age from 6 through 19, the proportion of children from homes with both parents present who actually attend school is higher than the proportion of children from homes with only one parent or neither present. Rates of juvenile delinquency, venereal disease, dependency upon AFDC support, and use of public assistance in general are much higher in disadvantaged Negro areas than in other parts of large cities. Data taken from New York City contrasting predominantly Negro neighborhoods with the city as a whole clearly illustrate this fact. In conclusion, in 1965, 1.2 million non-white children under 16 lived in central city families headed by a woman under 65. The great majority of these children were growing up in poverty under conditions
Wow.
that make them better candidates for crime and civil disorder than for jobs providing an entry into American society.
You heard that
Wow.
Because of
before.
the immense importance
Mhm.
of this fact, the potential loss to the society of these young people, we describe these conditions in the next chapter. Note: Calculations of non-white subemployment in disadvantaged areas of all central cities, 1967. In 1967, total unemployment in the United States was distributed as follows, by age and color. Group: adult men, 20 and over. Non-white, 193,000. White, 866,000. Total, 1,059,000. Group: adult women, 20 and over. Non-white, 241,000. White, 837,000. Total, 1,078,000. Group: teenagers, 16 to 19. Non-white, 204,000. White, 635,000. Total, 839,000. Group: total, non-white, 638,000. White, 2,338,000. Total, 2,976,000. Adjustments for the Census Bureau undercount of non-white males in the labor force, amounting to 7.5% for the teenage group, 18% for the adult male group, and approximately 10% for adult females, result in the following revised total employment. Group: adult men. Non-white, 228,000. White, 866,000. Total, 1,094,000. Group: adult women. Non-white, 265,000. White, 837,000. Total, 1,102,000. Group: teenagers. Non-white, 219,000. White, 635,000. Total, 854,000. Group: total, non-white, 712,000. White, 2,338,000. Total, 3,050,000. These figures cover the entire United States. To provide an estimate of the number of unemployed and disadvantaged neighborhoods within central cities, it is necessary to discover what proportion of the non-white unemployed are in central cities and what proportion of those in central cities are within the most disadvantaged neighborhoods. The Department of Labor survey at 9 large central cities covering the first 9 months of 1967 showed that these cities contained 27.3% of the total non-white labor force in the United States and 26.4% of total non-white unemployment. Hence, it is reasonable to assume that non-white unemployment is concentrated in central cities to about the
Right.
same degree as the non-white labor force. In turn, the non-white labor force is located in central cities in about the same proportion as the non-white population, or 57.1% in
That would
1967.
make sense.
Thus, central city unemployment among non-whites was presumably about 57.1% of the national figures. Non-white unemployment in all central cities, rounded. Adult men, 130,000. Adult women, 151,000. Teenagers, 125,000. Total, 406,000. Within large central cities, about 62%
probably
of all
true today,
non-white
too.
families lived in certain census
Probably
tracts,
got more
which have
women
been
employed in
designated
central
poverty
cities than you
areas.
do men.
These tracts ranked lowest in United States cities over 250,000 persons in size, according to an index of deprivation based upon family income, children in broken homes, persons with low educational attainment, males in unskilled jobs, and substandard housing. On the assumption that conditions in these poverty areas are comparable to those in the 9 disadvantaged areas surveyed by the Department of Labor in 1966, the number of unemployed non-whites in disadvantaged areas of central cities is as follows. Footnote: the number of non-white unemployed in the more disadvantaged areas was 26% higher than it would have been had it been proportional to the total population residing there. Therefore, the proportion of central city non-white unemployed in poverty areas is assumed to equal 78.1%, 62% times 1.26. End footnote. Non-white unemployment in disadvantaged areas of all central cities, 1967. Adult men, 102,000. Adult women, 118,000. Teenagers, 98,000. Total, 318,000.
Mm.
The number of underemployed non-whites in these areas was about 2.5 times larger than the number of unemployed, but we have already accounted for some underemployment in the adjustment for undercounting. So we will assume non-white underemployment was 2.25
Let's
times
speed
adjusted
through this.
unemployment for
Let's
all
just
three
scout
age
out.
and sex groups. The resulting rough estimates are as follows. Non-white subemployment in disadvantaged areas of all central cities, 1967. Group, adult men. Unemployment, 102,000. Underemployment, 230,000. Total subemployment, 332,000. Group, adult women. Unemployment, 118,000. Underemployment, 266,000. Total subemployment, 384,000. Group, teenagers. Unemployment, 98,000. Underemployment, 220,000. Total subemployment, 318,000. Group, total. Unemployment, 318,000. Underemployment, 716,000. Total subemployment, 1,034,000. End of section 30. Recording by Marlock.
Section 31 of the Kerner Commission Report. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain.
All right. Did you read any of chapter 8? Because I did not read any of chapter 8, BGS. To let you know. Oh, he must be with his grandson.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
I didn't read.
Yeah, I didn't read any of, so I don't probably shouldn't go into that. But as far as chapter 7, what it talked about, I mean, a lot of this stuff, you know,
It's still with us.
yeah,
we see the roots. Had we gotten the affirmative action that we should have gotten, because I have to find it. But the thing is, I had gotten like maybe 40 years of from 1960, I think, till 1990. No, 40. I think the year 2000 about the average wage of the four groups, right? White men, white women, and black women, right?
mm-hmm.
And like the Kerner Commission says, black men were wages like 20% less than white men. And what they were trying to do is get black men wages in parity or close to parity of white men. But instead, what happened was they gave the money and they gave the jobs to white women. So now, after I think it's like 20 some odd years, white women slowly but surely caught up to black men, and now they've passed black men.
Yeah,
So they went from the third they went from the third highest or third on the list to second on the list.
mm-hmm.
So, and that's I do believe if you put those two things together, that's where your wealth gap comes from over the last 40 years. If you take the wealth and take the jobs, and instead of giving it to the black men, you give it to white women and also to black women, because I think black men used to earn like I think like 30% more than black women. Okay, black women are almost in parity with black men. I
yeah.
think
Right
they're
now,
within like
yes,
I think they're within like 10%.
almost the
So
same.
basically, if really they're not too far from putting black men at the bottom of the list. So the black men went from second, just behind white men, close to the bottom of the list over 40 years
Mm-hmm.
or 40, 50 years. So they basically just taken all the jobs and opportunities from black men and giving it to everybody else,
Yeah,
including white women
we were left
and
out.
black women. Yeah, we're left out intentionally. If you read Tommy Curry's work, this is intentional.
Yeah, that's what I was telling someone on Saturday that this was intentional.
Well,
It wasn't like somebody stole it. They did it. They did this on purpose.
yeah, they did it on purpose. Yeah. In fact, they named names. Dr. Curry. That's why I did the video. Dr. Curry actually named names about who did it and why they did it and what they they intended to do it. And the liberals back in 1965 knew if they did it, it was going to cause this problem. And
Mm-hmm.
sure enough, it came to pass.
Yeah, that's why you
It,
don't trust
so,
on white liberals.
so even more than the welfare, even more than all the other things, the fact that affirmative action went to white women is probably the single biggest reason that the black family actually broke up. and the single biggest reason for black family poverty, because you stripped the jobs from black men and gave it to white women, and basically doubled the income of white people and gave them the wealth, and basically you stripped whatever little wealth that the black men and the black family was going to get, to the
Hmm.
point where, like I said, to the point when your black women are in parity with you. But yet again, yes, well, what do they do? They don't say that black men need more help, more education, more opportunities. No. What do they say? You're not working hard enough. Offer your way through it.
You're not working hard way, off your way through it,
Offer your way through it.
and black women are getting trinkets at the same time. But
Yeah.
I will say this: if they get rid of affirmative action, black
Mm.
women will be fourth again. Well, instead
I
of being
think,
instead of being impaired with us, they will be fourth.
yeah, it'd be fourth. Well, yeah, fourth. They'll be fourth, and white women, cut burn that ladder down. And said nobody else
Yep.
comes up. We up there with our white man. We don't need no more.
Yeah. We got what we wanted. That's what feminism was about. It was about
Mm-hmm.
empowering white women. It wasn't about
And,
empowering black
and,
women.
yes, it was. But black women, black woman extended till this day, because and we get the bad rap because we're talking, because they don't like what we say. They're talking nasty to us. White women are ripping them off left and right.
Exactly.
Mm.
They climbed the ladder, then they pulled it up and say, "Why are you crying for?"
What you crying for? Yeah, yeah. I'm talking about alpha your way through it.
Yeah, but it comes from the whole "I want to be Miss Ann, I want to be you,
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
I want to be white woman, I want to have the
yeah.
status, the quality, I want to get with these white guys. They want to put me up in the same status, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
they're not. They're using you
Mm-hmm.
as a damn sock.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're using you as. They're using you as a damn sock.
A sock with a little Vaseline, huh?
A sock and the Vaseline. That's all
Mm.
you are to them.
Yep.
And you on TikTok or Instagram crying about why this white guy used you and stuff. It's like you
Mm-hmm.
just a
Mm-hmm.
dumb black bitch. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, yes, you are.
yeah, yep. Stupid black bitch. Yeah.
Because that's what they like. Listen, I like this is what I have been and infiltrated those spaces,
Mm-hmm.
pretending I was someone else and just looking how they talk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, y'all guys don't know who y'all dealing with. Y'all really don't know who y'all dealing with.
With William Cartwright, huh?
Yes,
What he do at the end? He didn't leave his
exactly.
wife.
He didn't leave his wife.
Mm-hmm.
You are nothing more than a receptacle
Mm-hmm.
for you're nothing more to be used, and
Mm-hmm.
that's how they really feel. You are to be used, but I'm still not going to leave my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I've read a article, not an article, but it was a forum where a white guy told that he had like a black mistress,
Mm-hmm.
set her up in a house that was right down the street, and she was just a side chick,
Mm-hmm.
and he still had his wife, he still had his
Mm-hmm.
family and all that stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and he pretty much said like, I got her just where y'all want her.
Mm-hmm.
She's just in this little dinky little house I'm paying for. I
Mm-hmm.
come over and fuck her when I want to,
Mm-hmm.
and then just if my wife is on the rag, and that's it. You
Mm-hmm.
and that's how he treats her because he
Yeah,
has the money to do it.
and the wife is good with it.
Wife is good with it. Wife probably don't even know, but the black chick knows, and she's good with it because she's staying in the house.
Mm-hmm.
She's willing to be a receptacle to get a house.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They've been the wet nurse for white people for 200, 300 years. So all they're doing is playing their same role.
Like I said, you are the rejected prostitute of America.
Yeah, unpaid, the paid concubine. You know.
You're, you are the
Mm-hmm.
paid concubine of
Mm-hmm.
America.
Mm-hmm.
If you decide to play that role,
Yeah, yeah. It turned out you a mixed baby, so he can go to the NFL, so the white man can claim him.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, but as far as the job situation, it's interesting when it comes to black males because as me being a manager, had the ability to hire. Like I've always tried to make sure I hired black men, especially those that were competent. And I've seen other managers try not to hire black men that look
Mm-hmm.
like me, and I never really understood that.
Yeah.
And that's what when I see these numbers, it's disappointing because
Mm-hmm.
I know that when I see guys on the corner of the street like hustling cities and stuff, I will give them like, hey, contact me, give me your information, work history, let me coach you about getting a job, and I will help you get a job. And I've always done that as as a
Mm-hmm.
person that was in that management scene. And I used to carry um, job applications in my car. Whenever I see somebody that I think needs a job real bad, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, here, at least do something. But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they will, sometimes they won't. But at
Yeah.
least I was doing something about it.
Yeah. Or at least you did your part.
Yeah, because I hate seeing black men struggle. I really do. I really do hate seeing black men struggle. I really hate because there was a guy at my job um, who came to my job extremely early, and I was asking him why he come over there extremely early. He just said like my girl kicked me out and I have nowhere else to go.
Mm. Wow. Damn.
So he came to work 3 hours early because his girl kicked him out that night because they got in an argument. And I told him like, listen, you need to get yourself a better job. You need to get your own place
Mm-hmm.
and don't live with that chick no more.
Mm-hmm.
I told him any woman that's willing to kick you out, you don't need to live with her
Mm-hmm.
because basically what she's saying is, I don't need you.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You're only there. Well,
You don't
yeah. As long as you can follow my rules. So
exactly,
yeah. When they get upset, you're supposed to be a coward.
exactly, and that's
Yeah.
what I told him. Whether he took that advice or not, I don't know, but that's what I told him because that's the same thing with me and my ex. When
Mm-hmm.
me and my ex had our last fight, she talking about like you need to leave. I said I ain't gotta leave shit. I'm on the fucking lease,
Mm-hmm.
so I don't have to go no fucking where. And she's like, well, I'm glad you on the lease. It's like you damn right. I'm glad I'm on the lease
Mm-hmm.
because because I know a lot of guys that don't want to be on leases. I don't know because they have records or stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
but they allow the women to control them that way, and I'm not that guy. I'm sorry. I'm not. Fuck that. You ain't control me. I'll
Oh
do
yeah.
it.
Yeah. You can't trust them.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I mean, yeah, I mean, black men, we got to try our best, and the things are against us. Like I said, I know a lot of white guys that don't want to hire black men. And I know a lot of white. Just being
Mm-hmm.
in management, I'm just like, ugh.
Mm-hmm.
I see it. I see it.
Got a whole lot of black women don't want to hire black men.
No, they don't. I've seen YouTube channels where they tell black women if you see a black man with an application, reject it, and they
Mm-hmm.
work in HR.
Mm-hmm.
They will reject your application tooth and nail. And I would be surprised if all those black males that were applying for those jobs that Charles shared that
Mm-hmm.
article with were nothing for black women.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked.
I would be shocked because they won't hire. They will not
Uh,
hire.
uh, they won't hire the black women, you know.
Yeah,
And they say a black man got to go get it for himself until you show up trying to get it for yourself.
yeah, and that's where the whole entrepreneurial thing that black men have within them is because like they know for a fact that black women are against you, white people are against you, so you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna have to get it for yourself. Black women don't want to hire you. Black white men don't want to hire you. White women barely want to hire you.
Yeah,
You may have a little lower what because
yeah,
I've had that situation.
yeah. I've been hired by white women.
Yeah,
The
there was
last thing
one.
last
Yeah,
thing I want to see is a black woman on the other side of the table.
yeah, because there was I've been in that situation because I was applying for a job. The white woman liked me,
Mm-hmm.
but this is the one thing that I've loved about me being in management is like looking at people's body language. And when I
Mm-hmm.
was talking to the white guy, I saw him like you do the little finger roll where you on the table where you like that, and I knew that he was disinterested. So
Mm-hmm.
I ended the conversation right there because I saw that I was like, yeah, I'm not getting this job. So I just left because he was uninterested in hiring me. He didn't want anything to do with me. So
Oh,
me
he just
picking up those body signals. He just
okay.
like, this is a waste of my time. I was like, okay, cool. It's a waste of your
Mm.
time. Goodbye.
Yeah, not helping me either.
Exactly. It's like I'm trying to get I'm trying to get paid. You ain't trying to pay me. Fuck you.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yep, yep. Next.
exactly. But anything else on this section before we
No, no,
close out?
no. Basically, the thing is that you start reading this stuff and you see how familiar this stuff still is. Okay, you got to remember this is 1967.
Hmm.
This is 55 years ago.
Exactly.
What has changed? If you look, the only thing that's changed is it's probably gotten worse. That's the only thing that's changed.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has increased in money, so it's not
Yeah,
that. It's just that you got to look at like where you stand in as far as the social order.
yeah. Look at the percentages.
Hmm.
I mean, the out of wedlock birth rate, the marriage rate, all that stuff is basically the same. The unemployment, I think the unemployment is, I think back then it was 7.1%
I
for black men.
think
Guess what it
it's
still is?
yeah,
That's what it still is.
still the same.
Look, it's still the same. What has changed?
Yeah, that's why when I look at the panels where they talk about the Kerner Commission
Mm-hmm.
now,
Mm-hmm.
I think they're being a little bit disingenuous.
Why so?
Well, they're saying that they've improved a lot of the problems
Mm-hmm.
because they used to say that we've done a lot, but there's still more work to be done.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty much I think what they did was what they're saying to me when I look at this stuff as far as I'm reading, and now it's just that all they really did was help the women achieve power.
Yeah.
That's it.
I, yeah. Well, yeah. How do they do that? By taking money and power away from black men.
Yeah.
All that stuff comes at the expense of black men.
And I think that's the disingenuous part where they something like, well, black people are more empowered. And then it's like, no, you're looking at more black women are probably more empowered because you put them as a double minority, and so they
Hmm.
gain a lot more wealth. But it's at the same point as black men.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Nothing's changed for black men.
Hmm. They gave the black woman a few more cookies inside Miss Ann's house, and she's sitting on the table at the table, patting her feet and patting her hands while she's eating the cookies.
Hmm. Yeah, and of course, I don't think nobody's going to point that out, but I mean, if you look at the stuff and look at the numbers now versus then, it's just like, okay, we'll see how it helped and where it didn't. Like I said,
Yeah.
black men have gotten a jobs program, but they didn't really
Mm-hmm.
get any help as far as like making sure they had pretty much a good education.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you look at, there was one article that I was looking at through the what was it because you hit me on to them. It was a conservative based out of Anaheim.
Oh, good grief.
Oh my god, it's on the tip of my tongue because I'm subscribed to them on YouTube.
Okay.
But
Okay.
they even put out an article stating that African Americans and
Tell my
Mexican,
tell my Brookings. Is it
yeah, the
Brookings?
Brookings Institute.
Okay.
They even put out an article saying African American men and Latino boys are at the
Mm-hmm.
bottom of
Mm-hmm.
educational standards.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. 1 and 2, black boys are at the very bottom, and Latino
Hmm.
boys are trailing.
Hmm. So I
Yep,
mean, they know this stuff is happening, but yet, are they going to do anything to fix it? Probably not.
probably not. Yeah, I don't think they even care,
No, they don't.
and the people that should care, which is our women, don't even care. They care less.
Yeah, they don't care about black girl magic.
Yeah, yeah. They weaves, Wookie weaves, and nails.
I hate that shit. Them extra long. Ugh. Like,
Wookie weaves, nails, and living their best life.
yeah, whatever. Anyway,
Hand,
sir,
hand the kid a smartphone and so he can get off my nerves.
man, you have no fucking idea how I'm fucking tired of hearing about that.
That's she tired. I see it all the time.
It pisses.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
The least person, the one person that any kid doesn't want to help with their homework is their mother.
Yep, that is true.
Hmm.
You- Hell, I can even say that with my own parents. The only
Hmm.
person that really tried to help me with my homework was my father.
Hmm. He's the only one that cared.
Yes, but
All your mama didn't. Your mama cared about whether you flunked out or not. If you're a C minus, that's good enough.
nah, basically, like, like it was pretty much if I got on her nerves and that. I mean, I love my mom, but I could say some things that she did.
Yeah.
So I could be honest about it. It's pretty much just if I got on her nerves or not.
Hmm.
If I talk back, that stuff. But as far as like excelling at school,
Hmm.
didn't matter. It was mostly my father.
Yeah.
So
Yep. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. They had to get on my grandson. He says he did it at school. I said if I didn't see it, that means it's not done.
hmm
So everything he's got to show me everything,
exactly.
and I have to go through it and correct it and correct him. He gets tired of it, but it is what it is.
Hey, you got to stay on them
Hmm.
because, like, it's like what Kevin said to that woman that talking about like how she has a gut feeling. This world is not a nice place. It's not. I don't care what people tell you about it. I don't care what anybody says about it. You're not going to change it. It's not going to be a nice place for you when you're
Hmm.
out in this world.
It never
So
has been.
never has been. So
Hmm.
you better be on your P's and Q's. You better make sure everything is tight in order for you to be in this damn world. And you got to make sure you have some thick ass skin
Hmm.
because it's going to try to pull your ass down.
Hmm.
It's like what the Rocky Balboa said to the son. It's not how many times. It's not whether or not how hard you can take a punch. It's hard. It's when you can take a punch. It's hard, and when you can get back up.
Get back up. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's what life is. Life's gonna hit you. Life's gonna hit you hard, but can you get back up?
Hmm.
That's the point.
Yeah. Well, in nature, there's two rules: either you eat or you get eaten.
Hmm
And and it still applies. It's gotten a lot softer. We're a lot further away from it, but uh, that's the way it works. That's the way the world works.
Exactly, it is.
Either you eat or you get eaten.
Mm-hmm. But anyway, sir, I know you're busy with your grandson.
No, well, no, he's done. He's done. Yeah, that's why it took so long. Otherwise, I'd have been through. I told he had to do his word search, and I know we had been at it for like 2 hours. I said, man, why don't you, he had done like half. I said, man, why don't you take a break and go chill out because we've been at it for 2 hours, and I'll go back in and check on you.
Right. So, well, we could talk about that offline. I don't want to put all
Yeah.
your business out there. We got people out here in the YouTube streets that want to talk about
Ah,
people.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah. They wanna see what the inner workings of the master teacher.
Hmm
For
Exactly.
what reason I don't know.
Exactly. But yeah, appreciate you guys for stopping through. This is a short one, but it was very
Uh-huh. And
informative.
and plus, y'all darn it, art man. This is uh, this kind of research because he wanted to do this because he thought the Kerner he had never heard of it, and it's a very monumental piece in civil rights. Okay, and you're gonna need to understand it because if they're trying to get rid of civil rights, you're gonna have to fight for it, and if you're gonna fight for it, then you have to be knowledgeable of what went on before, and this is a central piece of civil rights and why it was actually done in the first place. And for you millennials and Z's that want to argue for it because you guys didn't want it, but guess what? Y'all gonna have to fight for this shit now. You thought that it was just on easy street and racism was gone and prejudice was gone. No sirree. It's still
Nope.
alive and well and working its way through the system. And last thing you want is for this racist ass country to hit you in the crosshairs and catch you unaware. Because what's the hardest? What's the knockout punch? It's the punches that you don't see,
Mm-hmm.
and they're banking that you won't see this shit coming. So the thing is, now it's time to learn this shit and get informed. So hey, donate to the channel. Give our cash app because this kind of research is not easy. Trust and believe, man. I got three or four. I got two books lined up, and I got two papers from two PhDs that I got to read because they want me to go through it and maybe even do a video on it. So, my hands are full. I've donated my time, because this is
Yeah.
important and art thinks it's important. That's why I'm here. So, um, and are trying to keep this channel going, man. Hey, so he doesn't ask for a lot. He's a working man. He don't ask for a lot. So throw him a few donations, man, here and there. Keep him going. Make it worth his while to actually do this kind of stuff because nobody's going to do this stuff except us. I mean, I do
And
mean nobody.
yeah, nobody's talking about a Kerner commission at all.
No.
And trust and believe, this is not the only. This year is about me going through books.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not after I go through the Kerner commission. I
Mhm.
got I got a couple more books I'm going to go through that I'm going to actually show on this channel. This
Yeah.
year is about me actually going through the books.
Mhm.
I'm going through all the books that I own, pretty
mhm.
much that I can this year.
Yeah.
On Tuesdays, it's going to be about going through these damn books.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you learned a lot on just by going through the Kerner Commission stuff that you didn't know.
Yeah. I'm actually doing some research on core actually
Oh,
right
okay.
now. So I'm trying to learn about that because I didn't know about that. I think I missed that when I was listening to it. So
Yeah. Elwood said already cash apped you, so.
uh, I have to get my phone. But if anybody who has cash at me, my phone's in the other room because I don't
Okay.
have good reception in my room right now.
Okay.
So appreciate you guys. Anybody who's cash at me. I know Aquateki always cash apps. Elwood, appreciate you for the cash app. And Giogami, appreciate you again for the super chat. Appreciate you.
Yeah. And because nobody, I'm telling you, man, nobody cares about this, and your women are actually absolutely against it because they don't want to give up power. They, like I said, black women would ever rather rule in hell than serve in heaven, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the problem.
Yeah,
So,
that is a problem.
like, had to give Crystal Carrison credit. She says that black women want to be queen of the dung heap, and she was right.
Yeah.
They want to be queen of the dung heap.
Maxwell Excellence. Thanks, fellas. We'll catch the playback too. Appreciate you, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, and I may on this section I may do another video on this section because it's going to go right along with the piece that I just did on. If anybody wants to know, I go to my BGS Books channel. I actually did
Oh, I did
uh,
see
a,
that.
a,
I
a,
need
por- a portion of. Oh, you need to pay. I'll send it to you.
no.
Um,
I'm subscribed to all your channels, man.
I know, but I'm gonna send you the paper.
Oh,
Where
okay,
it
okay,
comes from
okay,
because it's a review paper that Dr. Curry actually sent out, so it's not published yet. So I'll
okay.
send you the whole paper because I just took the last section of it because I think the last page 2 pages
Mm-hmm.
because I think the whole paper is like 20 some odd pages. He goes through the whole point about how feminism was actually a racist idea from the beginning. It's about elite white women taking power and they didn't want poor.
Mm.
They didn't want poor white men getting the vote, much less Negro men.
Ooh,
And
ooh.
there's a whole lot of rate. In fact, a lot of these abolitionists, okay, pulled up stakes for civil rights after the black man got the vote. They just wholesale just pulled up stakes and they started becoming really, really racist. So a whole lot of racist shit that went down amongst feminism that black women refuse to even talk about it because they won't even talk about it. So
Oh,
all
I,
that
I mean,
fe-
I believe
all the
it.
feminism all that feminism shit, man, the racism in feminism, even down to them taking affirmative action away from black men, still to this day, anything the black man gets, the white women wants to take it away. In other words, they'd rather give it to everybody else except black men because they don't want us to have it. It is the way it is. So don't believe that bleeding heart liberal bullshit that white women try to give you
Mm-hmm.
because
And
they're the one that kissing the baby and snatching the baby sucker at the same time out of
mm-hmm.
his hand.
Yeah, I would love to read that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, I'll send it to you. I'll send you the
I
paper.
might post that on my Facebook and piss off my family.
Well, the thing is, I haven't read the whole thing because he hasn't published it. It's actually a preview paper, so that's the only
Yeah.
reason I haven't published. But I'm assuming because I asked Dr. Johnston to reach out to him. I'm assuming he's okay with it, so he probably can publish it because
Okay.
he's okay with it.
Well, I won't do it until you tell me to.
No, we us and me and Dr. Johnson might be talking about this tomorrow about the section that I did, and
Okay.
so we'll see how much he wants to actually release. But it's out in the public because he did release it on Academia, uh,
Okay.
academia.com. So it's actually public. But I'll send the paper to you.
All right. That's cool. That's what's up.
Anyway, Doughboy, I'm gonna let you go.
Yeah.
So have you ate already?
Yeah. I had me some jerk chicken.
You motherfucker. I hate you.
With my
Oh, you went to the Jamaican. You went to the Jamaican spot.
yes, sir. I had that
Oh,
jerk chicken with the
no.
spinach rice and the
Oh,
plantains.
oh, okay. Did you have the did you have the what do they serve with that not the root beer but the what kind of beer is it? Ginger
Ginger,
beer?
the
Ginger
ginger
beer?
beer.
You get ginger beer?
No, they had like they don't serve alcoholic drinks there.
Well, ginger beer doesn't have to have alcohol in it. It's
Well,
actually
yeah,
like
that's
root
true.
beer.
They
It's
had
ginger beer is
well, they
like
had
root
like
beer.
ginger soda or something
Okay,
like that.
that's what they call ginger beer. Yeah.
Yeah, they had ginger soda. I got the pineapple one.
Oh, okay. All right. Close enough.
Yeah,
Close
so
enough.
ate on that for a little bit, real good. So I was
So
happy.
now- so now you got the itis and need to take a nap, huh?
Nah,
Or you
I
got to
didn't
go
get
work. You got to go
nah,
to work tonight. Okay.
nah. I ain't gotta go to work. I gotta watch some more Knight Rider. Man, I've been on that kick, man. Look, I'm halfway
Oh
through season
my!
2.
Oh my goodness, Knight Rider. All right, I haven't seen. I haven't seen Knight Rider since the '80s.
Oh, really?
I have not seen it. I saw it when I used to watch it every week when it first came out, but I haven't seen it since the '80s.
It's on Netflix, man. I'm halfway through season 2,
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
about to get ready to season 3. I
Go-
mean, I watch it like 2 or 3 episodes a day when I get off work and I go to sleep. It's fun nostalgia, man.
I remember this lesbian at work that I really wanted to fuck. She had one of those.
Oh, really?
Actually, wanted her. I wanted. Oh, she was pretty, boy. Chocolate. She was tall. She was chocolate. She was slender. Pretty as hell, man. I wanted to fuck her so bad. And when one guy walked up to you say she wants the same thing you want, I said, "Oh, goddamn!" I just looked at her. I just shook my head. I said, "Girl,
Hmm.
oh, what I could have done to you."
Exactly. Well, yeah, I've been on a Night Rider kick for the past 2 weeks,
Somebody
man.
said Knight Rider and Airwolf.
You know what? I was Night Rider, A-Team, and then Skyhawk with the
Okay,
motorcycle. That was my
okay,
shit.
okay.
Yeah, I didn't really watch Airwolf like that, but I watched Skyhawk and Night Rider and A-Team.
Airwolf was a ripoff of that movie Thunder, something Thunder,
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Blue Thunder. Yeah,
Hmm.
it was a ripoff of Blue Thunder.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's why I never watched it. I said, it's just a ripoff. But but Knight Rider was very inventive. It's very, very inventive. So
Yeah,
it's very cool.
yeah,
That and the $6 Million Man.
yeah. I used to watch a little bit of $6 Million Man when he used to come. I think it was
Mm,
USA
mm-hmm.
back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think 'cause I remember that. But yeah,
If you
I'm
if you can see if you can find the what is it? Not the pilot. The pilot was cool.
well. They had the $6 Million Man, and then what was
Bionic Woman.
the
Bionic
Bionic
Woman.
Woman?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember. 'Cause I remember them showing the reruns of that. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm old. I'm old.
I saw when they first came out, when they first premiered. So you know how old I am.
Yeah, because Knight Rider came out when I was born
Yeah, I remember it. In
in '82.
1982. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I used to love Knight Rider. Knight Rider's my shit. Knight Rider's my shit. I love Knight. Even now
It was
today, man.
that car is still cool though.
Yeah, it is.
Cause where were we? Where were we? We were at me and a girlfriend was at Denny's, and they had a replica of Knight Rider, of
Hmm.
Kit, and she took a picture by Kit.
Yeah, that car cool, man.
It was still cool. Yeah, yeah, it was cool. All blacked out with the blacked
The,
out windows and the black hubcaps. Yeah, it's
hmm
real cool.
With the LED going back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
that.
It was actually a production. I think it's Camaro, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's the Trans Am.
The Trans Am. Yeah, it's
Yeah, the
actually a
Pontiac
production
Trans Am.
car. It's
Yeah.
actually a production car. They actually made those are actually production cars. So the
Hmm.
Knight Rider Trans Am is actually a real car.
They, for what I read about the Knight Rider TV show, they did 22 cars just for the TV show, but
Mm,
only six survived after the
mm,
show ended. So they did 22 kit production cars for the
mm.
TV show, but they destroyed a lot of them. But only six are actually available now from the old
Are
TV
still
show.
surviving. Yeah.
Yeah, so so I realized that, and then because and then you just if you ever watch the TV show, you saw the little harness in the front at
Mm-hmm.
the bottom.
Yeah.
That was because they were too lazy to take off that harness, because you could take off the harness, but they were too lazy to take it off. So that's why most of the screenshots you see that
Mm-hmm.
little harness at the beginning, because that's how they used to tow kid around. I was like, okay, now they're just being lazy. Okay, all right. But it's fun. It's a fun show. I enjoy it. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It had its silly moments, yeah, but it was actually a pretty decent show.
yeah. Now I need to find MacGyver. 'Cause I used to love MacGyver when I was little.
I never got into MacGyver. I saw a little bit of it, but not much. With me, it was the 18.
18. Yeah, I love the 18 too. I'll tell you this. I told my dad, yeah, it's like, hey, give me a haircut like Mr. T, right? So so I'm like, I'm little, so I was like, I want a haircut like Mr. T. He's like, okay, I'll give you a haircut like Mr. T. So I'm thinking he cut my hair like Mr. T, right?
Mm-hmm.
He cut all my hair off, and I looked at him like, I thought you were supposed to give me a haircut like Mr. T. He said, you know what he told me?
What?
Mr. T had to start somewhere.
Now I see where you get it from. Now I see where you get that shit from.
I was
All
like,
right.
this motherfucker,
Yeah, you a chip off the old block, man. Okay, now I get it. Okay, you like your dad, because that's some
right?
shit that you would have said.
He definitely. I showed up would have said that.
Oh boy.
That's funny. That is funny right there. But anyway, I'll let you guys go. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all day. I think
All right. I think our new style started up.
our new
So
style starting, and is Charles starting? Because I think he said he was gonna do a video.
yeah, he's gonna do. Yeah, I think he had. I think he did start. I think he started about an hour ago.
Okay.
So
All right. You guys check out Charles or check out our new style, and we'll catch you guys later.
all right, y'all.
Deuces.
Peace.